Prisoner who fled Supreme Court sentenced to 18 years in prison despite absence. A prisoner who escaped from the dock at the Supreme Court in downtown Kingston on Thursday has been sentenced to 18 years in prison in his absence. The fugitive, identified as 22-year-old Anthony Williams, remains at large. Williams had been brought to the gun court for sentencing after his recent convictions of illegal possessions of firearm and assault at common law. According to reports, Williams was placed in the dock by the police and his handcuffs removed as part of standard procedure. During the proceedings, he managed to flee custody within seconds. It's alleged that he jumped from a section of the Supreme Court building onto Tower Street and escaped in the downtown Kingston crowd. A police manhunt has since been lodged. Williams' attorney, Kimberly Whittaker, is urging him to surrender.
I did represent Mr. Williams, and I'm asking that he kindly submit himself to the custody of the police forthwith. It is in his best interest to do so.
Men freed of gun charges in dispute over electricity in Kingston. Two men accused of using a firearm to assault a woman in a dispute over electricity were freed of gun charges in the gun court on Tuesday. Tariq Mercurius and Andre Plummer were found not guilty on charges of using a firearm to commit a scheduled offense and assault occasioned grievous bodily harm. Justice Vaughn Smith handed down the verdict after accepting some submissions from the defense that the prosecution did not outline a case for the men to answer to. The incident occurred on March 21, 2023 in Admiral Pen, Kingston, where the prosecution alleged that an argument over electricity distribution escalated into a fight. Plummer allegedly pulled a weapon and held it to the complainant's side while Mercurius assaulted her. However, defense attorney Marcus Moore, representing Mercurius, and Shannon Clark, representing Plummer, argued that the prosecution's case was manifestly weak and its witnesses unreliable. One witness recalls seeing Plummer pushing the gun in the complainant's back before she slapped the gun aside, while another witness recounted witnessing Plummer running towards the complainant with the gun in his hand before he fell. The lawyers also argued that there were differing descriptions of the weapon. The defense also raised concern about poor lighting conditions on the day of the incident, challenging the witnesses' ability to accurately identify the weapon. Mentally ill man shot after allegedly attacking police in Stony Hill Square. A mentally ill man was shot by the police in Stony Hill Square, said Andrew this morning. He was shot after reportedly attacking one of the cops, who sustained injuries. It is reported a police team went to the area to apprehend the man in relation to a case of robbery. The man reportedly attacked one of the cops with a sharp object. Both have been assisted to the hospital. The scene has been cordoned off as police and independent commission of investigators conduct separate probes into the incident. Hypocrisy. JLP hits back at criticism for re-selecting Dalrymple-Philibert. The Jamaica Labour Party, in rejecting the People's National Party's concerns, said the reinstatement of former House Speaker Marisa Dalrymple-Philibert as the JLP candidate for Trelawney Southern are another clear act of brazen and barefaced hypocrisy, which has characterized the Mark Golding-led party and Dayton Campbell-led secretariat. In a statement Thursday afternoon, the parliamentary opposition said the move is highly contemptuous of Jamaica's judicial system. In light of Mrs. Dalrymple-Philibert's 8 outstanding criminal charges for breaching the Integrity Commissions Act, JLP Deputy General Secretary Charles Sinclair says concerns expressed by the PNP and civil society ought to be rejected as baseless and hypocritical. Mr. Sinclair said the party is careful in its selection of candidates, in particular those who may have matters which are sub judice. He argued that the party believes in the presumption of innocence, which is a fundamental pillar of Jamaica's legal system. Pointed to the PNP, Mr. Sinclair cited several members who continued to serve despite having matters before the court. The PNP has among its ranks as potential candidates Ian Ailes, who has been recommended by an anti-corruption agency for criminal investigation, Michael Phillips, who is to be charged for breaching of the Integrity Commissions Act, Dwayne Vaz, who was charged and convicted for breaching the Integrity Commission Act. Philip Powell, Member of Parliament, who was convicted for breaches of the Firearms Act, but were allowed to continue to serve in their respective capacities under the principle of innocence until proven guilty. He argued that Mrs. Dalrymple-Philibert is protected by the same principle in relation to her supposed offense, which she has said was a genuine oversight on her part. Mr. Sinclair also highlighted the previous drug convictions of attorney Isaac Buchanan, the PNP standard bearer for Portland Eastern. PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell has said the decision to reinstate Mrs. Dalrymple-Philibert signals a disregard for accountability, especially from the Prime Minister, who he said appears to be attempting to normalize lapses in integrity given his own compromised position. Mr. Campbell said the PNP will not be contesting the November 22 by-election in Trelawney Southern. He also cited the nomination of Kim Brown Lawrence for the local government election, even as she remains charged in a serious fraud and corruption case involving the Ministry of Education and the Caribbean Maritime University. Mrs. Dalrymple-Philibert had omitted a Mercedes-Benz motor vehicle from her statutory declarations submitted to the Integrity Commission between 2015 and 2021. She said the omission of the vehicle was a genuine oversight. She is to return to court on December 6 when Parish Court Judge Leighton Morris will decide whether the Integrity Commission's case against her should be thrown out or proceed to trial. Political analyst Narcis has described the current political atmosphere as a game with the major parties jostling to score points. Both sides are maneuvering people who can get past the post and get them over the line, and the majority in the House. You will be fielded because you at this moment are considered somebody popular enough that maybe you will get them through a particular constituency, she reasoned while speaking Thursday on the morning agenda on Power 106.
Hypocrisy for the PNP has amongst its ranks as a potential candidate Ian Hales, who has been recommended by an anti-corruption agency for criminal investigation. Michael Phillips, who is to be charged for breaching of the Integrity Commission Act. Dwayne Vaz, who was charged and convicted for breaching the Integrity Commission Act. Philip Paulwell, Member of Parliament, who was convicted for breaches of the Firearms Act. And worst of all, Isaac Buchanan, who has 2 convictions against him for narcotics trafficking in cocaine. History also reminds us that Councillor Chu, who was serving as Deputy Mayor, and former Councillor Sylvan Reid were arrested and charged for illegal possession of firearm and breach of the scamming law respectively, but were allowed to continue to serve in their respective capacities under the principle of innocent until proven guilty. The same principle which Marissa Dalrymple-Philibert is clothed with in relation to an offense which has more administrative ramifications than anything else, one which she has stated was a genuine oversight. It is clear the statement by the PNP is another attempt to deflect and to hoodwink the Jamaican populace and must be rejected as baseless and hypocritical.
Woman found dead in house in Portmore. The St. Catherine police suspect foul play in the death of a woman who was found at a house in Portmore early this morning. Dead is 22-year-old Beyonce Brown at Dawn Avenue in Doheny Park, St. Andrew. Reports are that about 1:30 a.m. the police responded to a report of a woman being found unresponsive at a dwelling in Brayton Phase 4. The scene was examined and the body removed to hospital. An investigation is being undertaken by the Portmore Criminal Investigation Branch.